Thank you very much. Well, maybe it'd be a great gold mine, but maybe in rehab days down the track, it might be a new ski resort. But anyway, we'll worry about that another day. So Omeo Gold Project. So it's located in the East Gippsland area. It's by itself, strategically, there's no other gold play of any size in that area. So we're looking at it at a local level and a strategic level as well. But we're endowed with this project. We're really excited from an Omeo point of view because it's going to become our flagship project where our key focus will be. This is where we're going to sink the bulk of our dollars into the ground to bring this resource on. So it's already got a resource there of 320,000 ounces underground. And it's just got such great exploration upside, which I'll show you through the preceding deck as we move through it, and the potential for resource growth and various options for multi-value wealth creation for what we're doing down there. In terms of grades, there's a few there just highlighted behind me. There's another slide to give you an idea. So this is a high-grade gold mine, narrow vein. This is where I've come from. I've cut my teeth on narrow vein gold mining in my earlier years as a mining engineer, and this project really sits in the sweet spot for what I do. And the team now we're putting around this is geared up to break the ground there and bring this whole project forward to a huge success. The other thing that really got my excitement going is the potential when we look at the long section on the Mount Wills project, the project area to the north. We've got a mineralised zone of 5.8 kilometres in strike, and it's largely open, and we'll demonstrate that as we move through. One of the key areas that was concern for the board as we looked at this early days was the potential risk from government approvals. So we've gone quite a fair way in mitigating that. Certainly in our DD, we've talked to all the other Victorian miners down there, and have got a great sense that they are changing their attitude and their delivery of approval processing. But we took another step there, and we've got an incoming chairman who is an ex-20-year politician down there by the name of Tim Pallas. Obviously, a few people here will know of him. Maybe some will know him directly. But Tim has been an excellent individual to work with this far in the project in terms of opening up opportunities through the various departments there. He's well connected, and I think his place on the board will really cement the success of this project. So substantial growth, that's what we're looking at. So we've got the platform for the resource there. We've got an underground that's in the makings. There's old workings there. This is all in the mountains, so the ore body itself is accessed quite easily from existing adits, be that narrow veins, so they will need to be stripped out. But what that really is saying, the cost of capital to develop this project into production will be far less. We don't have the traditional costs up front of expensive decline systems or shaft systems. We can easily get into the side of the mountain and get straight into the mineralised zones. The community down there is highly supportive. I've spent the past year working with everyone down in the Omeo region, and basically an agricultural area in terms of the whole socio wealth and the dynamics down there. They're on the lower side, so they are keen for employment opportunities. What I do like about the farmers down there, they're very hands-on, hard-working and very mechanically minded. So they will make up the large part of the workforce. And again, government support, well, I think we've got that covered off. That's the board. So Tim's coming in, myself as the MD, and then Trevor is coming across onto the board from the CEO role, and Bradley and Andrew will remain on there. This is just the corporate makeup. It's probably the key highlights. Market cap today is around 7.3 million by the time we finish this deal. This is an incoming deal that's not completed. It will be done on the 2nd of June when we have our shareholder meeting, and they'll hopefully vote this project in as part of the flagship going forward. I can't actually see them saying no. So we see a position of about 14.4 million as a market cap, sitting at the same market price at this day. So there's the project area there. In the north is Mount Wills, to the south is Cassilis. Mount Wills is where the activity is in the short term. That's where the resource is for the underground. So it's a large area there with an exploration lease. It's not so well marked out, unfortunately, on the slide, but there's a dark green area there known as MIN 491. Narrow strip, that's where the mining lease is, that's where the reserves are. And it's divided in the north called Sunnyside and in the south called Maud. Cassilis itself, or Cassilis, depending on how you pronounce it, is a medium-term exploration play. There's about 155 mines recorded there, a lot of geology, reasonably complex compared to Mount Wells, but nevertheless quite an exciting piece for the future. That gives you just a sense of some of the grades from previous drilling. There's some 65,000 metres of drilling. All that core remains on site. So the historical record is there. But again, quite a lot of excitement in terms of what we can do with this ore body and bringing it on. I'm not going to read through all those areas, but the top section is about the Maud, or the southern area of the reserve. The mineral licence, and Sunnyside's to the north. So just quickly background, Mount Wells has been mined from the early 1890s right through to after the Second World War, up to about mid-1950s. There was a break in production between the world wars for obvious reasons. There was no men around to do the mining. Historically, 235,000 ounces have been mined out of the Maud and Sunnyside for somewhere over 18 grams a tonne. That's just on the mine records that can be found. No doubt there'll be more ounces actually extracted out of that area that's not recorded. Another important point is all the mining is only down to about 100 metres, which is driven more principally of technology around pumping. But from our point of view, the upside is all that ground is open. And probably the other key point, with all that history, there's a lot of data there from a geological and a production basis to draw on. And it's only very early days for us in terms of bringing that forward. Oops, wrong button. This gives you an idea of the strike through Maud and Sunnyside, so 5.8 k's in strike. The resource only sits in those two areas there that are marked up in the pink at the Maud and the Sunnyside. Across the surface there, there's names of all individual workings and that, so there's been quite a remarkable amount of workings done, mining done over that period, but not a single drill hole in those areas. So a lot of upside for tracking down resources and developing the mine. Historically, this is the Maud, this is just the southern area. Of note here, there is silver credits somewhere between 6 and 10 grams, which is not in the model. It's in some of the core logs, so there's a bit of work there to bring that into the model for the upside. The other thing about the model in terms of defining the resource, it sits at 320, review there by independent groups such as Cube, Consulting and other independent geos. So there's upside because some of the earlier work done around the domaining and some of the structural data put in there is not correct. So the view is there's certainly going to be a significant uplift. So one of the key pieces moving forward in the short term is to upgrade the model. And our view on that is it'll be just bring us up to sub about 500,000 ounces. The other point there, it's a bit hard, I don't have a mouse here unfortunately, but on that long section at the bottom, really coming from the left-hand side, there's a line going across there, that's at 5. That's part of our project going forward in terms of getting underground access to opening up drill chambers, which we'll be doing in the medium term. In the shorter term, we've got work plans in place for adits 4, 3 and 2, which are further up the slope to open that up. And there's a number of old records there, very high-grade remnants, pillars and virgin ground in there running many ounces, which at this stage is unqualified when I say that, but the records look encouraging, so we'll be moving into that in the near term to open that up as well. Resource-wise, oops, wrong button, my apologies. So these are just some sections through there. So you'll see the current drilling there. Very hard to read the slide deck for the intersections, but they're all very high grade. But you can see down dip of these structures and up dip, they're very open. And again, we can't demonstrate this here on this deck, but in and out of those slides, again, it's very open for building the resource base going forward. Sunnyside, this is quite important, this slide here. This is where we're going to put our first drill program. In fact, we've already commissioned the drillers to start mobilising to site before we actually get the shareholder meeting done. So we're backing that in with the current dollars available. We are going to start up here on hole 17, which is basically in the middle of that plan, and we want to twin that hole to just do some verification work initially on previous drilling, and then we're going to start doing infill around that. So that's our main focus in the most short term at the moment, going forward at Maud. Later on, we have plans also to come in across Maud from the east or the bottom of this plan section to open up the mineralised zones. So we see two there running across the page or north-south, but there's actually a third one that exists to the north that you don't see on this plan. Again, no drilling in that, but certainly plenty of outcrops. Again here, just some sections. So this first section C, which is the one in the middle, that is hole 17, that large black line there that's intersected on that right-hand structure. The other thing to note on the other two slides, the drilling has only ever gone to the west and not the east. So it's all open along that side. When you walk on the ground and come in from the adits underneath, there is mineralisation there. It's just the work hasn't been done. Just looking ahead, so I've touched on it briefly, but certainly drilling is the number one game up at Sunnyside, so you'll see some money's allocated to that. This is just based on a $4 million raise when we do the shareholders meeting on the 2nd of June. There is also monies we're working on to go beyond the firm commitments we got to raise 6. So that's the intention, but this activity is based on 4. And the second point there is build the ore body model database up, and then we've got resource follow-up, of course, from the current drilling we've got planned, and a lot of structural work to be done. There's no real structural work done at all at this point down there, and then the typical met test work as we go along. So really developing Victoria's next high-grade gold mine. So it's all based on a platform of high-grade foundations around the current resource that's there. We've classed it as a non-JORC resource at this point, even though it was JORC when it was put out into the marketplace by a previous owner that was an ASX company, as in Synergy. We've done that because the CP we couldn't track down. He's disappeared into the ether. So and with the knowledge of doing some upgrades on it, we'll live with it for what it is at this point. But certainly our target here initially is to get it to 500,000 ounces, and then the next target is targeting 1 million ounces as a resource. It's a proven high-grade zone. We've just seen quickly on some of the previous slides, and it's nudging on a development stage play. So really there is study work to do, but the access into the mine is there. It's very low cost to actually open it up to get into production. And of course, bringing Tim Pallas on is one of the key fundamentals of us going forward with this project. So that is really it for today, just to give you an idea. Very excited for Omeo to bring this project into the portfolio. It'll be our focus going forward, no doubt about it. And in terms of ski resorts, well, I'll leave that one for shareholders for a much longer time in the future. But it does snow up there, I realise that it gets cold. So it'll be interesting to see how some of the Aussies go in winter up there, particularly the guys from Western Australia. Thank you.